YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here with yet another Washington football team video, and in today's video, I just wanted to come on here and talk about a possible wide receiver candidate. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure you go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload a video about the NFL, in this case our Washington football team. And let's get straight into today's video. So the wide receiver that I am talking about is Panthers wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Now his name has been up in rumors for Washington yet again. Remember last week when I came out with a video, or earlier this week came out with a video talking about rumors that Washington was interested in Derek Carr. It's also rumors that Washington is interested in Curtis Samuel. Now this rumor is a little bit more believable because Washington, just like quarterback, we need a wide receiver badly, and this one is a little bit more reasonable and believable because the connection with Ron Rivera and Marty Hurney. So with Curtis Samuel, I'm really not the biggest fan of Curtis Samuel. Not saying that he's not skilled. You know what I'm saying? I just don't watch the Panthers enough to really be a fan of Curtis Samuel's, you know what I'm saying? Or Curtis Samuel rather. But honestly, I like him, you know what I'm saying? In the short glimpses that I did see him, and not only seeing him play against us, that's the only time I really watch him. And he killed us for the past 2 years. 2019 killed us, was the only reason why Carolina was in that game. This year killed us. The game with Dwayne Haskins had a horrible game. He killed us that game. So he's good. You know what I'm saying? He has the Ohio State connection with, our boy Terry McLaurin. That's why I had to rock the jersey today, because they're like best friends. So I honestly like the pickup if we do, get him. We're rumored to be interested in him, which I'm not going to be surprised one bit. This was a name that we covered last year. I even made a video on him last year. Should we go get him or possibly trade for him or sign him? Because we thought he was going to come out last year, but he had one more, left on his deal. We were talking about possibly trading for him last year because Ron Rivera took over, last January. So he was a name that we were, considering picking up last year, and his name is back in the talks again. And honestly, I think it's going to be a little bit more, possible this year because he's going to be a free agent this year if Carolina does not, decide to pay him. Matt Rule likes Curtis Samuel, but I just think they probably going to want to move on from each other because they're not going to come to, terms as far as the money that Curtis Samuel feels like he deserves, and also what the Panthers is going to want to do. Now, the thing with Curtis Samuel is he's not a guy that deserves a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? He's a solid little piece. Maybe like 3 years, 15, 20 million or something like that. He's not a guy that deserves a bunch of money, but at the same time, he's a guy that's really going to be good for you. He's a gadget player. He can play the slot, the outside, running back. Scott Turner can have fun with him. And honestly, him and Terry McLaurin linking back up like they did at Ohio State. I don't know if Chase Young was there when he was there. I think he was. I could be wrong. And all the Ohio State connection, and then with him knowing Scott Turner, Ron Rivera, Marty Hurney, he's going to feel right at home. You know what I'm saying? All the other coaches and personnel, he's going to feel right at home. So I think Curtis Samuel coming to Washington is really a high chance. I think that we should get him. The only thing is with him, I want one more receiver alongside with Curtis Samuel. If we got Curtis Samuel and drafted a guy, I'll be fine with that too. But the big thing that I don't want is just us getting Curtis Samuel and think we're going to be fine with it. Because me personally, I don't think Curtis Samuel is a bona fide number 2 receiver. Like I said, I think he's a gadget player, and there's nothing wrong with that. Every team needs a gadget player, but we need a bona fide number 2 receiver, and this is the perfect receiver. He's not too old, you know what I'm saying, but he is a veteran, and he had multiple years in the league. That's what we need. We need a young veteran, if that makes sense. And honestly, Curtis Samuel could be leading that pack with Terry McLaurin going into his 3rd year, Kelvin Harmon going into his 3rd year, but really his 2nd year. Still very young, but they're somewhat veterans now. And honestly, I think the smart route for us to do is probably go out and draft maybe Rashad Bateman at 19, maybe alongside Curtis Samuel, unless we want to go multiple veteran routes, and that's getting Curtis Samuel and maybe another veteran receiver. It's so much that we can do here, but with Curtis Samuel coming here, I think it's really going to be good for Washington because, like I said, the familiarity is going to be really good for Curtis Samuel. He can fit right at home, and honestly, he's an electric player. He's exciting to watch in the short times that I did watch him, man. He can do everything. So Curtis Samuel had 77 catches for 851 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those stats sound similar to Terry McLaurin. Not a bunch of touchdowns, but a bunch of yards. Obviously, Terry McLaurin had over 1,000 yards this year, as he should have had. I think he should have had more and even more touchdowns too, because he was obviously open on multiple plays. But back to Curtis Samuel and how they tie in. Like I said, they obviously are best friends, and honestly, their stats are similar. They both have a ton of yards and a ton of catches, but not really that many touchdowns. That's because they're more so setup players for their big, tight end, Logan Thomas in this case, or even a running back, or maybe even the other wide receiver. They're big setup plays. Yeah, they'll score here and there, but they're big setup players where they're going to set you up in a good field position after a big catch. They're guys that's going to go get that yards after catch. Curtis Samuel isn't a guy that you want to depend on in the red zone. Obviously, Terry McLaurin is a guy that you want to depend on in the red zone. There are guys that could take the top off of defense. The traits that Curtis Samuel had really describe a good number 2 receiver, because like I said, I believe Washington needs a vertical threat alongside Terry McLaurin. Going to 2021 season with this roster how it is now, obviously Terry McLaurin is the only guy that scares defenses over top, and me personally, I think we need a bona fide number 2 receiver that's a vertical threat. Honestly, like I said, Curtis Samuel, he describes all the traits that I would like for us to have in a number 2 receiver, as far as being a vertical threat, being able to take the top off of defenses. I'm just not comfortable with Curtis Samuel being the number 2 option alongside Terry McLaurin. Like I said, he's good, but I want a dog. I want a bona fide number 2 receiver, and I don't think Curtis Samuel is that. He's a phenomenal number 3 option, obviously, but I just want that bona fide number 2 to go alongside Terry McLaurin. Once free agency get near, I believe this is the signing that is most likely going to happen, in my opinion. I really do think this is going to be the most realistic option for Washington, because he wants to come here. Obviously, he's going to be obviously his interest in this team is going to rise with him having Ron Rivera here, Marty Hurney, Terry McLaurin, Chase Young, all the Ohio State guys, and all the Panthers personnel and players and coaches and stuff like that. So all of that is going to be great for him, and honestly, I think this is the most realistic signing for Washington, although I want us to also draft or maybe even sign another veteran receiver if we do get Curtis Samuel, because I'm not comfortable with him being the number 2 receiver and the second option alongside Terry McLaurin. So as always, it's me, your boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe, help to the Washington football team. Don't forget to leave your questions down below so you guys can participate in Washington Weekly Questions tomorrow, episode 3. Send your email to juangottiwft@gmail.com. Once again, that is juangottiwft@gmail.com. And if you can't understand my voice clearly, the link is down below in the description. Let me know how you guys feel about Curtis Samuel. Do you want him here or not? Like, comment, subscribe, help to the Washington football team. It's me, your boy Juan Gotti. I'm out. Peace.